And welcome back to my channel, unless you're new here, at which point, just welcome. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And we are going to finish up and conclude the Halloween 2018 trilogy with Halloween Ends. Yes. Now, Halloween Ends was released in 2022, directed again by David Gordon Green, written by John Carpenter, Debra Hill, and Paul Brad Logan, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Andi Matichak, and James Jude Courtney. Now, this movie opens exactly 1 year after Halloween Kills ends in Halloween Night 2019, where we are introduced to a character named Corey. Corey has been hired as a babysitter by the parents of a little boy named Jeremy. So he's there to babysit Jeremy. You can tell Corey is kind of like a little nerd, a little geek, very geeky. And we see them watching The Thing. We also see Jeremy actually bullying his babysitter. You know, he's insulting him and stuff like that, but he kind of ignores it. He goes into the kitchen to get some. He almost drinks a beer, but then he doesn't because he's, you can tell he's like a goody two-shoe kind of person. And he's going to get a piece of cake or something. He hears a bunch of noise and he finds the front door open. He can't find Jeremy. He goes looking. He hears screaming upstairs. He goes upstairs and it turns out it was all a joke by Jeremy. Jeremy locks him in the uppermost attic room, and we're talking, 3 stories up there in this like mansion-like house. So he's locked in a room and Jeremy is laughing at him and carrying on. Now, right when this is going on, his parents arrive and they walk up to the door. They walk inside. They hear, Corey screaming, I'm going to kill you, Jeremy, if you don't let me out of here. And Jeremy's standing right in front of the door where where Corey is kicking. And he finally kicks that door open. It hits Jeremy, and Jeremy goes straight down the middle of the staircase. 3 stories. That was a fucked up scene. Because when that boy hit the floor, it was like, what the fuck? That was gross. The way he bounced and shit, it was traumatic. And this happens right in front of his parents, right? So, Corey comes running out and looks down there and sees him dead and bloody, and she screams up at him, what have you done? And that's the intro to this movie. So then we move on and we spring forward another 3 years from 2018. So it's now, or 4 years, yeah. So it's 4 years from the original movie. It's now 2022. And, you learn pretty quickly that Corey was, I guess, served a little bit of time, or maybe he didn't. I don't know. But it was like involuntary or negligent manslaughter. It was some little thing like that. Because, we witnessed it. He didn't mean to kill the kid. So, we see that Lori is now writing a book. She's writing her memoirs. She's left all that behind her. She's now living in a nice house with her granddaughter Allie. She's prettied herself up. She's not scary looking like she was in the first 2. She's actually trying to live a decent life, and you hear a lot of dialogue, about her as she's discussing this, and you see 78 flashbacks, as she's writing her memoirs. She lives with Allie. Corey is working at an auto repair scrapyard that is run by his dad. Or is it his dad or his stepdad? I think it's his dad. And okay. Then we see Corey stop by. His dad gets him a motorcycle. His mother is really overbearing, and his dad gets him a motorbike, and he ends up. He's kind of thrilled about that, but he's riding his bike still, and he stops at a gas station where these 4 seniors, 2 guys and 2 girls, they don't recognize him, but they asked him to buy them some beer, and they start bullying him when he says he can't, that he won't. He's still kind of like a goody two-shoe, and he won't do that. So that makes them then recognize who he is, the psycho babysitter, the baby killer, that killed the kid. So they start really bullying him, and he's very, very angry, which, who wouldn't be? And then Lori shows up and intervenes. And that was a really cool scene when she flicks the knife out, and she's like, should I do it or you? And I'm like, what? And then she looks at their tires, but they slashes those bullies' tires. So that was pretty cool. And you can see a real change in Lori's demeanor, and, her whole attitude has changed since she has, I guess, found a way to try to leave all of this behind. Because, of course, they don't know what happened to Michael, but she's just not going to do it anymore, I guess, was her decision. Now, Corey had been cut, so Lori takes him to the ER or to the doctor's office, the clinic, where our granddaughter Allie works. And Allie immediately likes him, and Lori is even kind of happy about that. She actually sort of engineered this whole thing and I think Allie and the friend Lindsay is still alive. So Lindsay and Allie both accuse her of that, you engineered this hospital visit just to get me to meet Corey. So, yeah, they meet each other in the doctor's office, and she asks him, they talk kind of flirty. She asks him to go. She wasn't going to go to the Halloween dance, but she manages to ask him to the Halloween dance, and he ends up agreeing to go to the party. You end up seeing the party scene was pretty weird. Remember my blue scriptos. The party scene was pretty weird in that it's probably the first time this Corey guy has had any fun in 3 years. And Allie certainly, has been traumatized by her stuff as well. So you actually see both of them kind of really having fun for the first time. And then I'll be damned. Talk about luck. My luck. Jeremy's mom is at that party, and she just starts screaming at Corey about how you're out partying and having fun, after you killed my son and stuff like that. So that was awkward, and he gets really upset and he leaves, and Allie goes after him, but he's like, he basically says we both may be fucked up, but it's 2 different kinds of fucked up. You're fucked up because of the trauma, but you're thought of as a hero. I'm fucked up because of the trauma, but I'm thought as the psycho babysitter, and you know what I mean? So it's 2, we're we're both in this hellish spotlight, but for two different reasons. And so he sort of rejects her and goes on about his way, where those bullies find him again on the side of the road, and they stop him, and they are messing with him again, picking on him, bullying him, beating him up, slapping him around. And they actually end up throwing him over the overpass, off the overpass, and he goes down there, where it knocks him unconscious, of course, and they take off, after he fights back. So we see this bum who is looking over there at his unconscious body, which is next to a sewer tunnel, an entrance into the sewer system. And then we see something dragging Corey's body into that thing, into the tunnel. So he wakes up, and it's really a spooky scene. And he ends up coming face to face with Michael, who, this is when we learn that Michael is still alive, although he's been rode hard and rolled up wet and dried in a wrinkle because and we'll discuss that kind of stuff. But so instead of killing him, he stares into his eyes like a telepathic link, and he sees Corey's life flash, and it's almost like, you're the one. It would have made a whole lot more sense if we knew something bad had happened to Michael when he was a kid, but we don't, other than him butchering his sister. We don't know of any abuse or anything, but still, it's almost as though Michael saw a conduit, you're the kind that can do my bidding, or you're one of my kind now. Or I can make you one of my kind now. And so he gets away from him that next morning. It's like they had stared in each other's eyes, which was pretty spooky. The bum then comes up when he sees him come out of that tunnel and asks him. He never lets anybody go. He takes people in there. Why are you being let go? What are you doing out here? And he attacks him like, you must. I think it's like the bum was like, you must be evil or something, so you have to go back in there because he don't let nobody out. And they end up struggling, and Corey stabs him a couple of times. And then Corey goes home feeling very strange. Lori sees Corey outside staring, and it looked to her like when Michael stared up at the house, right? So she's instantly sees something different about him. And she goes outside. He ends up springing on her and scaring her. And he's there to see Allie, so him and Allie go on a walk. And Allie had thought he didn't want nothing to do with her, right? So she's kind of surprised to see him there. And they go on this walk and go to the diner and stuff. And Lori is looking at him real funny because she's getting this really strange vibes from him, which we'll find out what that was in just a little bit. But they go for a walk and end up at a diner where he explains everything about the night, about Jeremy. So we see Lori talking to Corey's mom, and you can tell that was a fail. That bitch is crazy. Corey's mom is a nutcase. And one of the deleted scene, there is an extended, longer deleted scene. That scene, And I actually think they should have kept that in there because I think it was very powerful. But on the disc, you can see an extended version of that scene where Lori and Corey's mom meet and talk. But I think the only thing about it that made them cut it down was that she expresses her concerns about Corey, and I don't think that they wanted her to express those concerns that openly this early in the movie, at this time in the movie. That's the reason why I think they cut that down. But it's really cool to watch after you've seen the movie. So Corey and Allie are at the diner and they talk about their situations. Her ex comes over. She had dated this cop for a little bit. He comes over. Corey bows up at him. They go for a ride, her and Corey. And Corey kind of knows that ex is following them. So he gets that ex, after he's dropped Allie off, he gets the ex to follow him to the underpass where that cop finds that dead bum, and Corey attacks him and gets him to chase him into the tunnel, where he basically hands him over to Michael and is telling Michael to show him how to do it right and stuff like that. So he actually assists Michael in that kill, holds him down while Michael stabs him. So they're like a partnership. And that was pretty interesting. He holds him down while Michael stabs him. Corey ends up going back to Allie for comfort. Lori sees them together and she knows something's wrong with him now. She can just, she even tells Lindsay about it. That she can see Michael's eyes in Corey's eyes now. So we learned that that's what had happened, back that day that he showed up for Allie. And we also know that's probably why they cut that scene down where she meets the mom. Because they were waiting for this point in the movie for her to express her concerns about him. So she tells Lindsay about her concerns, that she can see that something's happened to him and that she can see Michael's eyes in Corey's eyes now. So she ends up telling Lindsay that she talks to Jeremy's dad. She goes and talks to Jeremy's dad, and who agrees. He basically tells her the story about how he's had to move on with his life, and that unlike the mother of Jeremy, he actually sort of believed that it was an accident and has had to come to terms with it. And he said that he had seen that prior, he had thought many times about stopping and talking to Corey when he saw him. And he would chicken out, but that when he did start to do it, he could tell what Corey was, this sad little person. But that day, when he stopped to finally do it, he could tell that Corey had completely changed and was this dark individual. So he agrees with Lori that, something had changed. Now, we end up and get to see, the doctor that Allie works for. She really doesn't like the nurse or the doctor. So Dr. Mathis and the nurse, they're back at their mansion. Obviously, they're together. And we get to see Nurse Margot get killed, and we can tell that it's Corey. He's wearing the little clown mask that he wore to that Halloween dance. And then she walks out and sees him killing the doctor. And she runs back inside, and Corey can't get in there to her. And it turns out Michael's in there behind her. And he, like, kills her ugly up in there. So they really are kind of working as sort of a duo. Like, he's feeding off of Corey. So we get to see those two kills. Corey and Allie go on a ride and end up at his favorite spot, which is the roof of the radio station. Willie the Kid is the DJ that owns that radio station. So they have a confrontation with Willie, the Kid. She agrees to run off with him. This is the plan they've come up with. So she agrees to run off with him because neither one of them want to stay there in Haddonfield any longer. And he ends up going home. I don't know how his mom finds out, but she ends up like slapping the shit out of him and telling him to get out the house. She throws him out of the house. So we're now up to October 31st, and we see, this is like, I think might be my favorite scene in the movie. Corey is sleeping in Jeremy's house, that mansion, which is obviously the parents couldn't stay there after Jeremy was killed. So it's all closed up, and it's not like completely decrepit or anything, but you can tell it hasn't been lived in a while. And he's staying in there and he's sleeping on the like floor in the hallway, pretty much right where that kid fell. And he is woken up to the sound of this tapping, and when he sits up, fucking Lori is sitting there in this chair, like a dinner table chair, and she's tapping. She's got it on its back legs, and she's like tapping up against the wall. And they have this dialogue between them where she talks about the two kinds of evil, the outside that's threatening, and like events that's threatening the tribe. There's two kinds of evil, the outside influence and the inner, which is more dangerous, like an infection. And I think he can tell, and she can tell, that he can tell that she knows something is like went wrong with him. And I think I watched that scene because he's like, you're the ones who brought me in, because she's like, you're not getting Allie. Something's happened to you, and I can get you help, and I can help you, but you've went off. You've went over to the dark side, and you're not taking my granddaughter. And then he's like, well, you brought us together, and if I can't have her, nobody will, whatever. And he turns around, and she's just gone in the wind. Right. So from the point where he's woken up with her banging the chair, tapping the chair against the wall, to the part where she disappears, after talking to him, I think I rewound that like 3 times because I was just like so enthralled with the dialogue between them two. I was like really trying to listen to what she said, what she was saying about it, because I think that it was explaining a lot about this movie and Michael and this whole thing. So I loved that scene. So she knows she's got a new fight now, and I put nice exchange dialogue between them. He calls Allie and says that they have to leave by 9 p.m. and tells her that Lori wants to kill him. And then he goes to the tunnel and actually attacks Michael and takes his mask, like, you've got something that I need, and takes his mask. And Allie is packing. He goes and intentionally gets that poor dude's car, man. He like scratched Psycho across that bully boy's car, Terry. So Corey scratches it across Terry's car, and he's already confronted Terry before about, I know why you're a bully. I know why you are what you are, because I know what someone looks like when they're beaten mercilessly all the time. So I think Terry was so freaked out about him doing that because that was his dad's car. And Terry has obviously suffered physical abuse from his dad, because Corey kind of like called him out on it. So he knew what to do to get them to follow him. And they do. So they, he leads them to the auto scrapyard where the first one he kills is Billy. And then he the black girl, I don't know her name. One girl is run over by the wrecker. The second girl he kills with a pipe wrench. Terry gets help from Corey's dad. And Corey's dad walks out there. And he's sitting there over that girl that is like got the chain link fence on her, where Corey had ran over her. And Margot, that was her name. So she's there, and the dad had bent down to try to like see if she was okay, trying to help her. And then he turns and he sees Corey standing there. And then Terry's over here. So he stands up right as Terry tries to shoot Corey, and it shoots his dad right through the head. So Corey then gets very upset, because I don't think he had any problem with his dad. So Corey then kills Terry with a blowtorch. So that was probably, that had to be painful. And then he finishes off Margot by running over her again with the thing. But there is a deleted scene where you see him actually stomp her head in. So there's good special features. There's good special features on the Halloween Ends ones. There's a lot of deleted and extended scenes that add some more context. So Corey then goes home and kills his mom. He goes to the station and kills Willie, the kid, and his receptionist. Boy is on a murder rampage. Allie is waiting for him at that diner because they were supposed to meet and run off. But he never shows up. Lori tries to call Allie, but she refuses to answer. So Allie ends up going to Corey's house but can't find him. Lori gets home and starts to drink again. She gets a gun out of the safe and she calls 911. And I thought this was a really cool scene. She calls 911 because, she played it so well. I thought Lori might just be fisting to do some shit like that, right? Because she's so upset with everything. And Allie won't speak to her and all this crap has happened. So she's like up there. She takes a drink. She gets a gun out the safe. And she calls 911 and reports a suicide at her address. And she then goes behind the door and shoots, but she shoots a pumpkin. So like this pumpkin mush goes everywhere. And that's when Corey opens the door. And the look on her face is absolutely stunning because she's standing there in a shooter's stance. And she's looking at him, it's like, do you really think I would kill myself? So she knew he was in that house the whole time. So she played out this broken heart drama and the walking around all sad and going up there and calling about the suicide and getting the gun and acting. She did all of that for his benefit to get him to come at her. She didn't want to go looking for him. She wanted him to come to her. So she did, and I thought that was pretty genius because I'm like, and you did good because you were acting like really sad from the time you walked in the door. But she knew his ass was in that house the whole time. So that whole thing was a big show so that he would follow her upstairs and open that door. So that's exactly what he did. And she shoots him several times. And then gets him down there at the bottom of the stairs, and actually empties her gun out. She's got like several more bullets in it. She empties the revolver out, and it's like, let's go. Kill me. Come at me. You know. Fuck around and find out. So then do it, right? So Allie pulls up. And the reason that she had pulled up was because she had been told, I think it may have been Frank or somebody that called her. Yeah, I think it was Frank called her and said that there had been a police report call about a suicide at her house. So that's the reason why Allie pulls up. But before she can get in there, Corey gets the knife and then stabs himself in the throat, which I thought, okay. All right. That was ugly. And then he's laying there right when she walks in, when Allie walks in. So Allie thinks that Lori had done it. So, especially after the shit Corey had told her. So Allie walks out. Michael then comes in, picks up his knife, goes for the knife, finishes killing Corey, which was good to see. And then what is that? Lori's hiding behind the door. I have no idea what that word is. I'm sorry, I get fascinated by things. Lori leaves the door? Lori loud door? I don't know why that fascinated me, but I just can't figure out what that fucking word is or what I was trying to say. But anyway, so they start this huge fucking fight, and it was probably the best of all of their encounters from 78 to 2023, because that is one hell of a fucking fight. I mean, I thought that the fight in Halloween Kills was bad, or cool, bad in a cool way. I thought that it was, that fucking fight in the kitchen was just awesome, and she ends up nailing him down onto the bar, stabs him through the chest, removes his mask, cuts his throat. Allie runs in. They both start cutting on him. They bleed him, bleed his arms. They want him completely gone, right? Then Frank ends up coming, finds Lori and Allie in the kitchen with Michael, and of course Corey's in there dead on the floor. They then decide, even the sheriff of the town comes, and they're like, well, this isn't the procedure, because Lori's like, he's not dead enough. It's like Frank is like, well, he's dead now. It's like not dead enough. And it was really kind of cool, because they take his body out, put it on the car, and even the sheriff is like, this isn't procedure, but then again, it is tonight. And it's like this long funeral procession type thing. Like half the fucking town goes to that scrapyard where Lori then puts the body, including the lady that had the tube put in her throat. She's still alive. She just can't speak no more, as you can imagine. But Lori ends up putting his body in the metal grinder, where they grind up metal from car parts. And Michael's gone now. So the only way that he could come back now would be like I Know What You Did Last Summer 3, where, Hook has become a vengeance demon now. If you haven't watched I Know What You Did Last Summer 3, Hook was killed in part 2, but in 3, he comes back and he's a vengeance demon now. So, like Anya from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So, he's a vengeance demon. And that's the only way Michael could come back in this universe, anyway. Because there is nothing left but sausage. You know what I'm saying? So, Lori finishes her book. Allie moves out of town. She moves out of Haddonfield and takes off probably to college or something. And Frank and Lori are continuing their flirtations, and everybody seems happy, and it's a happy ending as far as Lori and Frank sitting on the porch, and he had said something to her earlier, or it might have been in Halloween Kills, that he said the line, life is either suicide or cherry blossoms, and that's going to be a song. I was like, the second that I heard that line, I was like, I'm going to write a song. It's going to be called Suicide or Cherry Blossoms. Because that's fucking cool set, saying. So I like that. Says a lot. If you look at your life, I can make it, that's my two choices, man. Suicide or cherry blossoms. So, there you go. So, that was the end of Halloween Ends. The end of the trilogy. The end of that timeline. And I fucking loved it. I really did. I gave it a 9 out of 10, like the rest of them. I look back on some of all of those nuclear bullshit that I saw in all of the fighting. Wasn't there people that were like threatening like bodily harm and death threats and stuff about this movie to each other fighting online? That's what I remember anyway. It's fucking ridiculous. But get better idols. That's all I can say. But I'm going to be even more shocking. Of these 3 films, Halloween Ends had me more engaged up here, visually engaged in the movie, trying to figure shit out, the dialogue, what this all means. So, I'm not going to say I like Halloween Ends better than the other 2. But it's damn close. What I'm saying is that Halloween Ends kept me more engaged and into the film than the other 2 did. I loved all 3 of them. I love this trilogy. I am a complete fanboy of this trilogy. But yeah, man, Halloween Ends, there was so much extra thinking about how Michael imprinted on Corey. There's just a lot more imagination fuel. Halloween 2018, we knew the story. It continued the story. Halloween Kills was very exciting. But the running dialogue throughout, the running mystery, the running mythology, and trying to work all of this out, really came to a head in Halloween Ends. And it really kept me thinking more than the other 2 did. The other 2 were just really good fun. Halloween Ends had some fun shit, but was also very engaging. And it kept me very engaged in the story and in the mythology. And sorry, but I like it. So, be sure and tell me exactly why you hate it so badly in the comments below. Do not leave any death threats like I saw on Reddit and Facebook. That's what I heard anyway. I don't know if I read any or not, but I heard people talking about it, like people trying to, like, threatening shit. You don't want to threaten me. I got too much shit in here. I'm not Laurie Strode, but I'm not that kind of paranoid. But I'll just put it to you this way. Whether it's those real nunchucks hanging on that wall right there, whether it's that sword sitting right over there behind my oldest computer, or whether it's whatever I got sitting right here, you won't get to me. I've always got something close at hand. I like Halloween Ends. I like this trilogy. And you are very free to hate it. Just as free as I am to love it. And at least I had the balls to sit on YouTube and explain why I liked them. You feel free to do the same and send me a link to your video explaining why you hated it, and I will thumbs up it. Love you, miss you, bye. Always remember, never forget, you're a very, very special person, even if you have not been entranced, possessed, and transposed by Michael Myers. See you in the next thing I do. Bye-bye.